I'm Phil Richardson. Welcome to another episode of See, Taste, Do, where we explore the hidden gems of Kansas. Today, we're in Abilene, a town brimming with history, hospitality, and heart. From getting to know one of America's famous presidents, to the flavors of a local restaurant, and even hitting the rails and exploring the beauty of the Smoky Valley. A trip that'll have you wanting to come back for more. This little slice of the Midwest has something for everyone. So get ready to see the sights, taste the local delights, and do some true Kansas exploring right here in Abilene. Our first stop, the Dwight D. Eisenhower Museum. Join me, won't you? Hello, we're at the Dwight D. Eisenhower Museum, and we're going to check out some cool stuff today. Joining me is Dr. Todd Arrington. Todd, tell us a little bit about what we're seeing behind us here.
Well, we're here in the museum at the Eisenhower Presidential Library. This is a great photo here showing President and Mrs. Eisenhower on one of their wedding anniversaries that happened while they were living in the White House.
Great, and of course he served from 1953 to 1961.
Right,
correct?
34th president, 53 to 61.
Okay, Todd, so I've heard recently you've had a renovation here at the museum. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, yeah. Back in 2019, right before the COVID pandemic, we redid all 25,000 square feet of exhibit space in this museum. So really, people are coming in and seeing exhibits that are basically brand new.
And we saw a couple of kid groups from schools today, right?
Lots of school groups, especially this time of year, absolutely.
Well, that's great. Let's go check out some more stuff.
All right, let's do it.
Right now we're at the early childhood part of the museum for Ike. And Todd, tell us a little bit about this portrait behind us.
Yeah, this is the portrait of Ike and his family, his mother and father, and all of his brothers. Came from a very large family, 6 boys, so he learned a lot as a young man about how to defend himself, but also how to compromise.
And we also had a little conversation about this sibling here, which we originally I thought was a girl, but it's a boy, and back then we learned that they didn't cut their hair.
Yeah, this is Ike's youngest brother, Milton, and it was actually fairly common to let young boys' hair grow for 3 or 4 years before you cut it. So yeah, we see a lot of old photos like that of older families where there's always a boy that kind of looks like a young lady, but in fact it's a boy.
And then speaking of Ike's father, where did he work at?
He worked at the Bell Springs Creamery right here in Abilene for many, many years. And in fact, Ike worked there during his high school years as well. His father was a refrigeration engineer at the Bell Springs Creamery. And then Ike worked there during his high school years, actually raising money to help send one of his brothers to law school.
And I imagine the mother stayed at home working in the home to take care of all those boys.
Yeah, you can tell she had probably the hardest job of all, which was taking care of this very large family of all boys.
Now we're at the section where Ike and Mamie meet, and so Todd, tell us a little bit about the dynamics of each of the families.
Sure, so they actually came from very opposite families. Eisenhower, of course, came from a large family of all boys. Mamie came from a family of all girls. He came from a very poor family. She came from a fairly well-to-do family. So they really were kind of opposites in that way, but they met in San Antonio when Eisenhower was on his first posting at Fort Sam Houston. Mamie's parents often spent time in the winter in San Antonio because of the climate, and so they met there, and that's where they kind of began to get to know one another and form this partnership that eventually took them all the way to the White House.
So Todd, how did she adjust to the lifestyle, being that she was from a wealthy background and Ike was from a modest background?
Well, of course, as a young officer in the Army, he often got quarters that were, fairly substandard and very much less than what she was used to. But, she really embraced that. She saw her role as being a partner to him, and so she went where he went and, made the best of it. We know that she, in some cases, actually went to garbage dumps to find crates to make end tables. And, she once said at some point that you know, she had lived everywhere from shacks with cracks to palaces while being partners with Dwight Eisenhower.
I love that.
Yeah,
Sounds
it's a great
cool.
quote. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, we're in between the wars with Ike and Todd. Tell us about some of the artifacts here.
Yeah, so the Between the Wars section is really interesting because that takes Eisenhower from World War I, when he was really upset that he didn't get to go overseas. He actually ended up being stationed at a camp or a tank training facility in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania called Camp Colt. That was really important later because, of course, he and Mamie eventually bought a home in Gettysburg many decades later. But that section really takes us through Eisenhower's career between World War I and World War II, when he was getting a lot of really interesting experiences working with some really influential people like General Fox Connor in Panama, and then actually at one point working in the Philippines for General Douglas MacArthur. So that's a really great section where people kind of get to see more how Eisenhower developed as a leader, and then you come here into the World War II section, and of course we all know that Eisenhower eventually becomes Supreme Allied Commander in Europe during World War II.
And speaking of World War II, this great map behind us, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, we have a lot of maps in this museum. People really like maps. People tend to be very visual and they like to see things. This is a great map showing kind of the early stages of World War II with the United States involved in early 1942. But I think one of the greatest things about all of the maps in this facility, and again, we have lots of great maps, is if you look up here, you can see that Abilene is represented on the map. Every map in this facility, whether it's World War II or Eisenhower's presidency or the early years of his life, Abilene is shown on every map.
And that is very important and very well adjusted that it's there. We love that.
Yeah, absolutely. We want people to, you know, we're very centered here in Abilene, and we're a big part of the Abilene community, and we want people to know that when they come here, hey, they're in Abilene, and they should be happy to be here because Eisenhower's really proud to be from here.
So, Todd, the museum here has an expansive collection of military weaponry, right?
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, we have the largest collection of military weaponry of any of the presidential libraries across the country. So when people come here through this museum, in addition to all the other great things they're going to see a really comprehensive set of World War II era weapons. Again, the largest in any presidential library anywhere in the country.
That's very cool. I'm looking at some of that stuff, and it looks pretty stellar, actually.
Yeah, it's a great collection, very well preserved, and of course, very well taken care of here by our staff.
Now we're in the Leading to Victory section of the museum, and Todd, I think there's something interesting about this photograph behind us. What's the tie?
Yeah, so this is our section where we talk about World War II and about General Eisenhower, of course, as Supreme Allied Commander. This photo behind us here was taken in England prior to the D-Day invasion, when England, of course, was becoming a big supply depot and airfield. But if you look here, you see a ship number 53 back here. So this is a U.S. Coast Guard ship. Okay. We actually have a Coast Guard uniform in our collection that's on display here in the museum that actually was donated to us by a member of the crew of that ship number 53 in the photo.
Well, that's pretty amazing, and that y'all got the donation of the thing. That's really great.
Yeah, it's a great connection here with that uniform in this photo.
And then tell us about the D-Day table. I know that's a big part of the exhibit here.
Yeah, there were many tables at which facets of the D-Day invasion were planned, but we actually have the table here at which Eisenhower and the senior officers often gathered to actually do the formal planning of the assault. We have that. We have some very famous uniforms in here. There's a very famous image of Eisenhower talking to the 101st Airborne prior to the jump into Normandy before the invasion. And we have the uniform that one of the soldiers in that photo was wearing that was donated to us back in the 1990s as well.
Boy, wouldn't it have been cool to be a little fly on the wall back then?
Yeah, it would have been something. But yeah, this is a great section of the museum. This is really, people know General Eisenhower and President Eisenhower. This is where I think people will start to really see the Eisenhower that they recognize as the Supreme Allied Commander in Europe during World War II, planning this great, the largest amphibian invasion in the history of the world, and eventually leading to the Allied victory in World War II.
Now we're going to talk about Ike's presidency. So Todd, tell us a little bit about the display we're seeing.
Yeah, so we're going to go through Eisenhower's presidency. Of course, he was president for 2 full terms, 8 years. But the thing that's really interesting about Eisenhower is that it was kind of a grassroots movement to try to get him to run for president. He never really intended to run for office, but finally in 1952 there was enough grassroots interest in him running that he finally decided that he was willing to run for office if the American people wanted him to run.
So Todd, what do you think some of the most important things accomplished during Ike's presidency?
Well, certainly he presided over a very long period of economic growth and expansion that was really good for the American people. He was president during the Cold War, but of course Eisenhower was very much interested in promoting and ensuring peace, and so we were able to keep the Cold War cold rather than hot, if you will, during Eisenhower's presidency as well. Expansion of space exploration, expansion of civil rights. So really a really important 8 years of Eisenhower. Of a really important 8 years of time here during which Eisenhower was president.
And then behind us, we've got this great photo of Ike and Mamie. So can you tell us quickly a little bit about that?
Sure. This is actually a photo of them. This is during Eisenhower's presidency, but this is their home in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, which they bought. They'd been married well over 30 years before they finally were able to buy their own home. They bought this farm in Gettysburg. Eisenhower was very interested in soil conservation. They raised cattle here, and this really was their retirement home. So this picture is taken of them during the presidency, but just during a visit to the home in Gettysburg, and this is where they retired to following his presidency.
There is so much to see on this 22-acre Eisenhower campus. It's a must-see. Next, we're headed to a place known for its famous fried chicken and homemade ice cream, Munson's Prime and Brookville Hotel. We're here at Legacy, Kansas, and joining me today is Deanne Munson. Deanne, welcome.
Welcome.
Well, we're glad to be here.
We're glad to have you.
Well, tell us all about this facility here. We're dying to hear about all of it.
Well, about 3 years ago, my husband and I, we owned Munson's Prime in Junction City. And at that point in time, there was a fire and the whole facility burned. So we had started using the heritage Munson beef and had built quite a name and an audience for it. So being a legacy Kansas farm and a farm product that had quite a bit of recognition, we decided to go ahead and purchase what was then for sale, the Brookville Hotel, and add to it the Munson beef. And in so doing, we needed to rename it, so we named it because it's both legacy families and heritage of Kansas. We renamed it Legacy Kansas and underscore that with Brookville Hotel, Munson, Angus Farms.
And then tell us a little bit, what are we going to see when we take a little tour of the facility here? What will we see exactly?
Well, you will see, originally the Brookville Hotel was in Brookville, Kansas, and the Martin family moved it here in the late 1900s. Anyway, when they moved it here, they rebuilt the building and brought a lot of the original parts and continued to serve the Brookville family style chicken dinner. And then, so you will see the facility where we serve the Brookville family style chicken dinner. And then when we bought it, renaming it Legacy Kansas, we incorporated the tap house, which is where we primarily serve our steaks and burgers and all of the Munson beef. But we also serve it as an option in the Brookville part of the white linen part of the restaurant as well.
Deanna, thank you for speaking with me today and all the history. And now we're going to talk to Veronica about the Brookville Hotel. We're here with Veronica Higgins, and she's going to tell us all about the Brookville Hotel. Veronica, thanks for meeting with us.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about the Brookville Hotel, and especially these hotel register books. They look very, very old.
They are very old. So these register books I bring out sometimes if guests want to see these books. Actually, Bill Hickok stayed in one of these rooms. So all these are signed like 1915s. And some people want to look for their families. They try, but they don't. They've never succeeded at finding any of their members here, but they know that a lot of their family members have stayed in this hotel. hotel. So they do go through a lot of these books. They think it's neat. So when they used to stay in the hotel back in Brookville, Kansas, they used to sign these books.
And then would there be other famous people or infamous people that stayed at the hotel?
I'm really not for sure
Yeah.
everybody that stayed in the hotels. I just know that one person.
Okay, and then tell us a little bit about the upstairs part. These the replica rooms, is that basically what you have?
Yes, so Brookville used to be a hotel in Brookville, Kansas, and that's where they used to stay at. The rooms upstairs that we'll go see are the rooms that what they used to stay in.
So Veronica, I gotta tell you, this family style food situation looks very scrumptious. So go down the line and tell us quickly a little bit about each dish.
Okay, so I did both. I did the Brookville side and I did the Munson side. So the Brookville chicken is right here. We bring it out as a family style. They pass it along. You get 4 pieces per adult. And then the kids will get 2 chicken legs. We're famous for our coleslaw right here. This is a Brookville coleslaw. If anybody ever wants to make it, you can Google Brookville coleslaw. This is our cold plate that we bring out at the beginning. This is peaches, pickles, and apples with our coleslaw. We have unlimited sides in here in this room, so we refill everything except for the chicken. And the steak, this is our ribeye. This is the Munson's ribeye. And then we do baked potatoes. We have, normally when they do the steaks, they always like the beer battered onion rings or french fries with steaks, not only just baked potatoes.
Well, I think it's time to eat. I'm getting really, really hungry.
All right.
Let's do it. And now it's time to eat. Let's do it.
All right.
I'm gonna start with the steak.
So you don't need sauce with that, do you?
No, and
That's
you know,
right.
I'm a well done guy, but I'm telling you, this is really good.
If it's
I'm
cooked to perfection,
experiencing things.
That's right.
And again, I'm more of a dill pickle guy, but bread and butter, you're winning me over on the bread and butter. I'm gonna try the coleslaw now.
Okay.
And I love coleslaw, by the way. Award-winning.
Thank you.
That's the best I've ever had.
And that's what we hear all the time is the coleslaw.
Okay, now the real treat, the chicken. I love chicken wings. You know what? This tastes just like my grandma's. Same consistency, same way she cooked it, and she even killed the chickens first. She cleaned them and everything.
wow.
Grandma did it all. I love this chicken. That's good stuff right there. Now I'm gonna do a little bit of the onion ring and fry. And I'm not an onion guy, but I do love onion rings, like raw onions.
Yes.
I'm not a raw onion guy,
Okay.
but I love onion rings, so let's give this a taste. I could eat those all day. That's some good onion rings right there.
They're beer battered onion rings.
Now we're gonna have the crew join us for this great feast. And thank you, by the way, so much
You're
for
welcome.
providing the food. It's
You're
been
welcome.
a treat.
You're welcome.
That meal really hit the spot. There's so much to see, taste, and do in Abilene, Kansas. Next, we're going all aboard and learn of the engine's unique history and how it came to be here in Abilene, Kansas.
I've been working on the railroad all the livelong day.
We're here at the Abilene Smoky Valley Railroad, and joining me is Joe Minnick. Joe, what an exciting day this is. I haven't ridden a train for I can't tell you how long, but it's been a long time. So we're gonna take a ride on the train, but tell us a little bit first about the railroad, how it got started, and all the particulars.
Well, it got started back in 1993. This was an old Rock Island track, which had got converted over, merged in with Union Pacific at the time. And a friend of mine, by Fred Schmidt, which is deceased now, was more of a railroad man than I was. I was more of a heavy machinery guy. And he said, you know, they're going to ban that track. We need to do something about it, see if we can get it. So we contacted Union Pacific with an idea of a tourist train. If you do abandon it, after a few months, they were receptive to the idea. And so we kind of got a club together here so we'd be ready when they come across. And in about another 6 months, why, they said, okay, we're going to put it up for that, and we made it a deal that we'll donate part of it to you, and we'll rail bank the land for you. That means it becomes government property, or property can't be reverted to farmers.
Right.
Of course, that made all the farmers mad. That's beside the point. So that was basically what started it.
Okay.
And by then we had a club together, the Abilene Smoky Valley Railroad Association, and it took off from there.
Well, very good. Well, I'm excited. I think we need to get on the train and take it down the track.
Okay,
Let's do it.
do it.
Well, we're rolling right now, aren't we, Steve?
We are rolling down the tracks of the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad. Glad you could join us today, Phil.
Well, thank you. It's our pleasure. So tell us a little bit about this car that we're in right now.
The car that we're in right now is our Evelyn Creek car. This car was made in 1947 for the Canadian National Railroad.
Okay.
And it got here to Abilene by way of Baldwin City. There used to be a dinner train in Baldwin City called the Kansas Belle. Kansas Belle went out of business during the COVID years. And so that consist of 6 railroad cars was sitting in Baldwin. And last year, our consulting partner, Heritage Rail Management of Durango, bought the Kansas Belle consist and moved all those cars to Abilene.
Okay.
And so this was one of the cars that was a big part of the Kansas Belle dinner train. And we are very happy to have it because it's an indispensable car for us for our dinner trains. Now this is all set up for a dinner train at the time that we're recording this broadcast. It will be on for Saturday night. We're doing a murder mystery in this car, and along with a wonderful dinner being prepared by a caterer here in Abilene. And so we do this all the time. Our dinner trains run year-round, and we're very, very happy that we are considered to be one of Abilene's greatest places to eat, albeit on the rails.
And what would you say the person that's come the furthest to be on the train, in the country or out of the country? Have you had visitors from out of the country?
Last season, in the 2024 season, we had over 21,000 passengers.
Wow.
And 48 states were represented.
Okay.
Over half of the communities in Kansas were represented, and we can tell that just by looking at zip codes.
Sure.
As people buy their tickets. We had people from 10 foreign countries on this train as well. So we're very, very proud of the draw that we have. Our practical draw, Wichita is one of the biggest areas that we have. Wichita, Hutchinson. Kansas City is a big area for us. Of course, Manhattan, Junction City, Fort Riley, Hayes. And so we really are building a very nice market area for our trains.
Well, this is exciting. I'm so excited to be here, and it's our pleasure to be here. So we're very happy. I think we're going to see some more cool stuff here in a little bit.
Very good. And we're happy to have you here. We're proud to share the legacy of this railroad with everyone in the state. We were designated as the state's official heritage railroad last year by the Kansas legislature. And that really makes us feel so happy that we can have this kind of reach out across the state. So thank you for being here.
You bet, you bet. I'm excited to get to the engine part. I want to honk the horn.
Oh yeah, we've set that up for you.
Okay. We're here with Rick Young. He's the engineer of this great train. We're gonna head out, but first I'm gonna go honk the horn. So Rick, how long you been doing this?
I've been doing it about 20 years, and I learned from the ground up by being a brakeman and a conductor, an engineer on this locomotive. Then eventually I had the opportunity to learn to become a fireman on that brand new restored steam locomotive.
Okay.
And an engineer, and I ran that thing for about 12 years until we had to set it aside for its restoration work here a year ago. So I've done all the parts of this thing. Running the steam engine is the real thrill of running it.
I bet. So
This
it's
railroad.
all hands-on experience.
All hands-on. Now, we had some training by experienced professionals, knew what they were doing, particularly with that steam engine, because it's a very complex machine.
Right.
And you might say dangerous too. Running this locomotive is kind of like driving a car compared to an elaborate piece of machinery,
Yeah.
which the steam engine is. This locomotive goes back to about 1945,
Okay.
so it's coming up on 80 years old here. And it shows as you look around on it,
Yeah.
an old machine,
Yeah.
but it is very faithful about operating. It's amazing.
Some of the older stuff runs better than the new stuff.
Well, it's true. They kind of built it to run forever.
Yeah.
They didn't have this notion that in 10 years we can replace it with something better.
Right. Right.
So it just keeps going and going.
That's great.
Yep. But we look forward to having that steam locomotive next year. There's a lot of work to be done between now and then to get it there. But we know of no known issues that are going to keep it from coming back into service.
Yeah. Now, Steve, I know the depot's right behind us, so tell us about the depot.
Well, the depot was built in 1886. And it was right at the time that the Rock Island Railroad was building this tertiary line between Harrington and Salina that we operate on today. And the depot is in grand style. I mean, it's in the style of depots of that period. You will see stained glass being used around the windows. The woodwork in the depot is just incredible. It was built by a contractor in Clay Center, Kansas. He came down and built the depot, I think, for something like $500.
Wow. That's a bargain.
Well, it's a real bargain, I guess.
Hey, Steve, what kind of things would people see inside the depot?
You know, the most visible thing when you walk in, of course, is our gift shop, which is also our ticketing area. The depot is very much as it was originally built, except for one thing. There used to be a waiting room for men and a waiting room for women. Today's gift shop and ticketing area is essentially what was the women's waiting room.
Okay.
We took what was the men's waiting room and made modern day restroom facilities out of it. But I think the greatest thing that we have, Joe Minnick told you earlier about a friend of his that helped him found the Abilene and Smoky Valley Railroad, Fred Schmidt. Mr. Schmidt passed away in 2009 and left all of his memorabilia. And he was the real pack rat of our business. He had stuff he had collections of china that you'd find on the dining cars of various railroads. He had old timetables. He had old railroad depot equipment. So all of that depot is now housed in our old freight room.
Okay.
And the freight room depot is called the Fred Schmidt Museum. It's open 5 days a week, so people can come in and kind of get a taste of what railroad depots used to look like and some of the things we used to employ to make trains run up and down the tracks.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much.
Okay.
I'm Phil Richardson. This is See, Taste, Do. If you want us to come to your town or tell us about your favorite attraction, contact us at seetastedo@kpts.org. We'll catch you next time when we hit the road and find more Kansas hidden gems.